Their commitment to one another was soon to end, for Aleister developed a deeper love, the occult. Spending days at a time in old dusty libraries, Aleister discovered books of a more mystical nature. It had started innocently, with religious texts from around the world, but he soon delved into darker material. Works like the Lesser Key of Solomon, a 16th century grimoire of spells, rituals.
I've never seen anything convincing about Flat Earth. Please enlighten me. Join VC and ask a question directly and I'll humiliate you.
Evil spirits. His morbid curiosity with magic and the dark arts evolved into an obsession, and he soon decided to devote his life to occultism. Having left Cambridge, failing to finish his degree, Aleister was able to live off the money that he'd inherited from his father. From a young age, Aleister was extraordinarily wealthy. This allowed him to travel around the world and pursue his expensive hobbies, chief among which was mountain climbing, something he gained recognition for among mountaineering circles. But Crowley was keen to progress his occult education. In November 1898, he was introduced to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. The group believed to possess ancient knowledge. They studied esoteric teachings, medieval Jewish Kabbalah, and performed magical ceremonies, which included ritualistic drug-taking. Members of this group included Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes. Adopting the name Brother Perebduro, Aleister impressed all those around him, displaying an extensive knowledge of occult literature. As a result, he quickly rose through the ranks. But his
It's just homosexual ritual. He says he started to understand more after started playing with his rectum for the first time. That's what he says in his book. So that's a shortcut in his teachings. And then he starts to have weird feces, and that's where ass eating comes from. And he starts doing all this trance-like meditation, Easter and stuff, while he's like licking feces and fucking doing crazy shit in the desert. And this guy got knighted by the queen. Like, give me a break. He either worked with satanic spirits or he's a genius. And I don't think eating feces is all that bright.
roguish lifestyle of excessive drug taking and bisexuality made him a controversial figure.
Remember, anything to cleanse and holy, anything opposite, anything far from God, the furthest things from God will be filth. Remember that, right? Gonorrhea, asshole, fucking an ear. You understand?
And led to a number of feuds with fellow initiates. Those around him spoke of his, quote, unappeasable desire to control people, and that he also had, quote, a tendency to quarrel savagely with anyone who disagreed with him. Many fellow members refused him from ascending further ranks. A schism soon developed within the order, which led to Aleister leaving shortly after. Disillusioned with the order and its rigid hierarchy, Crowley retreated to travelling. With the funds his father had left him, he journeyed to Japan, China, Sri Lanka, and India. He continued to climb, and even joined an early expedition to climb the second highest peak on Earth, K2. During his travels, he was...
You ever wonder why gay guys have so much money and influence in today's society? Because they shortcut it, right? They shortcut it.
Introduced to Eastern philosophy. He studied the teachings of Taoism and Buddhism, as well as practicing yoga. He decided to include various hard drugs into his curriculum, like hashish, opium, and certain hallucinogenic substances.
Every time you're under the substance, under the influence of who? You're poisoning your body with alcohol to be in a weaker vibration so demons can enter it, right? That's all that's happening. It's not under the influence of a liquidy substance. That's ridiculous.
In 1902, at the age of 29, Aleister found himself in Paris. There he met a woman named Rose Edith Kelly, who was also interested in the occult. Although she was initially betrothed to someone else, the two had an affair and swiftly got married.
What about weed? Weed makes you gay. drugs all change who you are because they weaken you, so you get used to taking it on the chin, and then you forget that you're like, hey, maybe I'm not the guy who takes it on the chin. When I was a stoner, if anything like this humiliation ritual to happen to me on Twitch, when I was a stoner, I would let shit go more, right? I would talk it out. My blood is red and my heart's blue. I'm cold, man. I'm so different now.
For their honeymoon, they decided to go to Egypt. As with all things Aleister did, this trip would prove to be far from normal. In usual Crowley fashion, he set up a shrine in their hotel suite and began recounting spells and incantations invoking the various Egyptian gods. What happened next is Crowley's later recollection.
A lot of people ask, Zherka, I don't get how come there's so many evil gods and how come there's not like one. And you got to remember that Satan took 33% of angels down with him. So whether they're talking to Thoth, Osiris, Set, Ra, blah, blah, Baal, any name, any pagan myth is a fallen angel. Do you take meds? I've never taken meds my whole life. I've never been prescribed anything, diagnosed with anything. They just can't catch me. But yeah, so these are all fallen angels. When you hear gods, plural, right? There's one God, period. That's it. Game over. And one means infinite.
The story goes that his wife, Rose, suddenly fell faint and became unresponsive. All she could murmur were the words, "They are waiting for you." They, as it turned out, was the god Horus.
It's not just these guys who talk to spirits. Entering a psychic trance-like state, I've seen friends of mine do it. Under drugs, and they were occultists. So they were trying hard with talismans and all that. Never worked. But they all ended up in jail. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. Right? Me, I used to fight on the street, and I was the softest kid in the club. Turned ruthless. Fighting men double my size. And I'd cheat. I'd be like, oh, you're double my size? I'm going back to the locker room and I'm popping a Halo test in. And we'll see how hard I punch now, motherfucker. I would cheat. I would hack. I would do everything. Lie, cheat, steal. Do anything to win. I would do anything to win. And look where that got me. You know? Right when my life was at the worst and I was crying like a fucking hoe in the shower on New Year's because I did my first betrayal, and I'm not the betrayal type, so I couldn't even recognize myself in the mirror to betray someone really close to me. Like, he was close. And it wasn't a big betrayal. It's something he would have forgave, but it was so out of my nature to betray someone, and he never found out or any of that because it didn't affect his world. It wasn't even real to him. It was just real to me because I knew, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but it's so out of character for me to do that I was losing my fucking mind in the bathroom. I was losing it. And that's when I tried my first prayer. And I said, I want my family healthy. And number 2, I want this, whatever I'm doing here. But I said YouTube. Crazy, right? And then after the prayer, I felt good. But I'm like, yeah, it's just a gay prayer. It doesn't do anything. And then boom, viral. 500,000 views. And I'm like, whoa. That's like, you know how degenerate YouTubers and Twitch people will be like, yeah, you got that 500,000 once, and it's not about getting 500,000 views, you fucking losers. It's about a door opening to a new life, that I don't have to work on a fucking street anymore, a dirty fucking hooker filled street. It's like a door opening. That's what 500,000 means. People think it's like a number thing because YouTubers are like, well, I did 2, I did 3, I did. First of all, you did it off a skit or a fucking dance, not for who you are. You didn't even tell the truth. So who gives a fuck if you went viral for a fucking gay dance? And who the fuck's gonna remember you? Are you Catholic or Orthodox? I don't go to church. Jesus is king, period. That's it. And at this point, we're so surrounded by demons. Everything's infiltrated. Going to a gay Protestant church is not really my thing, right? Going to an Orthodox church where they tell me original sin is not real? No. Going to a Catholic would make the most sense for me, I guess. But then they got pagan fucking weird shit in the Vatican, Baal worship and all that. I'm fucking cornered. So I just hold my Bible. I don't go to church, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, I just can't do the Bible. 66 books in one. John, I'm a Christian, but I can't. You're not supposed to read the Bible beginning to end. You're supposed to choose the stories that resonate with you. Choose the stories and then go after those stories. You don't have to read the whole book, dude. You have to choose the stories that resonate with you, because whatever you're going through, that story is going to help you, right? If you're a whore and you go through the Mary Magdalene story, it'll help you, right? If you're a snake and you read about Judas, it'll help you, right? So whatever you're going through, just find that. If you're stuck in a fish, I got a story for you. You understand? And then the Bible, you can finish it. But these people who go beginning to end, like, bro, no one's going to read it, dude. It's a fucking retard IQ in society. They're not going to do it. You know, the pastors and priests can't even fucking do it. They start changing the Bible. Oh, actually, there was dinosaurs, and they start doing all weird shit with it. So, thoughts on Islam? I love it. Makes a lot of sense, but it's just, at the end of my conclusion, it's just not who the elites are fighting at all. Like, not even one bit. Like, the elites only hate one name. That's it. They don't hate anything else. They might subvert you guys and try and degenerate you guys, but there's one name they hate, right? And it's the biggest name. The biggest name on earth is Jesus. There's no bigger name than that. That is the biggest name on earth. But actually in 40 years it won't be, and cope, right? And you guys got to understand how religion works. The more society tries to wipe out religion, the more it springs back and people become extreme. That's the pendulum. That is what politics is. Don't think of it as left-wing, right-wing. Oh, it's left-wing commies and right-wing is limited government and free market. That's not what it is. Right-wing is the cross, motherfucker. Right? It's either you're going towards the cross or getting away from it. Or if you're a Muslim, it'll be different. But you know what I'm saying. Stop thinking it's about limited government and free markets and gay neoliberal traps. They want you to think that. It's not. They're pulling you away from a Christian society and giving you higher purchasing power for higher anxiety, depression. The worst depression pandemic in all of human history, and it's when you have 10 iPhones. That makes no sense. No, it makes perfect sense. When they brought the peace symbol, when they brought the 1960s sexual revolution, they brought it through love, right? Which love is evil, right? Anytime someone tries to sell you love, it is the devil. Look at this. This symbol is the cross upside down and snapped. They snapped it. And they sold it to you as peaceful. But this revolution came with crack, shrooms, acid, everything that gets young girls raped. Right? That is your revolution. This peaceful revolution, right? Is rape culture. Rape culture comes from liberalism. All the rape in the world is liberalism. That's the truth. Okay? That's why we all have friends who go to parties and get touched and it's like seen as normal now. You think 1950s, you go to a party, you get touched? No, you'll have a couple beers, and the women will be classy. They won't be like having semen is blood plasma shot on their face and having trains run on them. Bro, if a girl's having a train run on her, she needs therapy. She needs serious fucking therapy. She needs to snap out of it. Right? That's the world I inherited. And my parents who say I'm too extreme, my family, everyone says I'm too extreme. I go, that's because you guys grew up in a normal world. Imagine being born in my time and saying, yo, John, just chill out. No, I don't want to chill. You had a normal life. Why do I get this whole children twerking on TikTok, pedo shit I can't avoid? Everywhere I click is something Netflix with cuties, and it's mind-boggling. It's like, it's enough to where I talk about it every day for 3 years straight. And people are like, just don't watch it. Oh yeah, that's taking the harm away. Yeah, sure, that's taking the, if I don't look at it, it's just, it's fixed. Are you crazy? That doesn't change shit.
As if led by a spirit, his wife took him to a nearby museum, all the way to a stele dating to the reign of Pharaoh Hatshepsut. Looking down at the exhibit number, it read 666, the number of the beast. Suddenly, a voice from the depth of Aleister's mind called.
If you don't understand why 6 is the number of the beast, right? It's north, east, south, west, as above, so below, the material world that Satan rules. The material world, right? The test world. The test of temptation. You want to bite from the apple. You're going to eat the whole apple? How far are you going to degenerate?
Out. It called itself Aiwass, and it claimed to be an angel. It told Aleister to write down all that it said into a book. For the next 3 days, Aiwass dictated its words to Aleister, who dutifully wrote them all down. What he was left with was a small tome entitled The Book of the Law. Opening the first pages, the book was replete with spells, as well as discourses and philosophy. A key teaching of this book was that humanity would soon enter a new age, the Aeon of Horus. In this time, mankind will overthrow Christianity and finally take control of their own destiny. To achieve this goal, there was but one simple commandment. Quote,
Balenciaga.
Do what thou wilt. Every man and woman is a star. The word of sin is restriction.
It's literally Hollywood.
In other words, whatever you feel like doing, go and do it, regardless of popular opinion or conventional morality. Believing himself to be a reincarnation of an Egyptian prophet, Ankh-Uthin-Kosu, Crowley returned to London and founded a new religion. He called it Thelema, a Greek word meaning desire. It was based on the teachings found in the Book of the Law and promoted a life of hedonism and radical free will. It was a fusion of a number of religious traditions, mixing elements of Western occultism, Jewish Kabbalah, Theravada Buddhism, and yoga. To accompany spiritual practice, Crowley advocated the heavy use of psychedelics. In 1907, he founded his own secret order, the AA, believed to stand for Argentium Astrum, the Latin for Silver Star. Owing to Crowley's notoriety in occult circles, the AA quickly grew in number. Soon, he released a periodical for its members, the Equinox. During this time, it was rumoured that Aiwass had contacted him again and instructed him to write more holy books. Things were going well for Aleister and his nascent movement, but nothing good lasts forever.
Religion to me is nothing more than a mental shackles. Really? How free does an atheist look at 300 pounds sucking off fucking soy smoothies? They look pathetic, those Redditors. They look shackled.
Now a leader of his own religion, with a philosophy to justify his own behaviour, Crowley enjoyed a lavish lifestyle. He continued to travel, take increasingly heavier drugs, and have affairs with both women and men. At the same time, his marriage to Rose began to break down. Despite his own scandalous lifestyle, he became frustrated that his wife had developed alcoholism. In 1909, he divorced her on the grounds of adultery. After their marriage fell apart, Rose's addiction worsened and she was admitted into an institution in 1911. Eventually, all the
Name one atheist you respect. Go. I can answer this. I can't. They're so childish to me. Dawkins and all those guys. Atheists are the enemy? No, they're not. They're cattle, because even the ruling class write in their Masonic literature that God is real. Like, when you look at the billionaire class, they all know, right? They know. They study this stuff. It's only millionaires that, like, talk about this gay-ass atheism and shit. But in the billionaire class, they all... That's why 7-Up tries to sell you the drink with 7 pointing up, as in the 7 wandering stars, right? That you draw your energy from. And people who don't get when I say draw energy from stars, you already believe what I'm telling you. Because you believe the sun is a star and you get energy from the sun. So why not the other planets and stars, you fucking idiot? Because planets are like something you can put your foot on. I saw a fucking CGI picture of Mars. Debunked.
traveling, drug-taking and libertinism had caught up with Crowley. The inheritance left by his father had now dried up. What's more, his addiction...
They believe in God, but they don't fear him. Well, they're in too deep, right? After they rape children, they believe in God, but they can't turn. They're in too deep. They're coping, right? They're slaves to their desires. The human psyche is split into two sides. One of compassion and one of passion. And the one of passion is sex, drugs, blah, blah, blah. It's all for you. The one for compassion is all for your mom, dad, brother, etc. That's how the brain is split. And then if you're always leaning to passion, you could become like a very rich, lonely guy. That hurt.
Addiction to drugs had severely worsened. To treat his asthma, his doctor prescribed him heroin, to which he soon developed a crippling dependency. During the outbreak of World War I, he was living in New York, gaining a small income through writing short stories and articles. He even had a brief stint working as a double agent for British intelligence. After the war, his attempts at...
Telling yourself a little happy story to tell yourself feel better. Bro, your happy story is lightning hit primordial soup. Made one single cellular organism into two, and then it turned into a dinosaur whale that grew legs and became a dog. You're a fucking retard.
Spreading thelema in the United States were largely unsuccessful, and it soon came time for Aleister to leave. In 1920, Crowley rented a small house in Sicily, bringing some of his most dedicated followers with him. There they set up the Abbey of Thelema, and soon began to accept fresh disciples in the hopes of advancing the Aeon of Horus. The Abbey of Thelema was designed to be a utopia, free from all the restrictions that plagued modern life. Aside from a few rituals to the sun god Ra and a weekly Gnostic mass, most of the members were left to pursue their own interests. Crowley took a number of lovers and ran the commune as its de facto leader. With the responsibility-free lifestyle advocated by Thelema, the abbey quickly became dilapidated. It was full of litter and human waste, and stray dogs would often roam the building. In these unsanitary conditions, one of the acolytes died of mysterious causes. Newspapers got wind of this and began to
sacrifice the fucking moderator.
Speculate that he'd been a part of a blood ritual. Not long after, Aleister gained infamy, and the myth of Mr. Crowley emerged. British periodical John Bull described him as, quote, the wickedest man in the world. Others accused him of worshipping Satan. Some believed that he actually was Satan. The Abbey of Thelema gradually fell apart, and all the members eventually left the commune. The abandoned building remains there today, although it's now vandalised and overgrown. For modern practitioners of Thelema, it remains a site of pilgrimage, a memory of something that could have been.
What'd Jordan do?
Disgraced and destitute, Crowley returned to England and retired from public life. In 1929, he soon remarried to a woman named Maria Teresa Sanchez, although he continued to have the occasional affair every now and then. He spent the remainder of his days in the seaside town of Hastings. There, he wrote a few more books and offered students tuition for his magic.
Which one is this?
Among those whites who feel a genuine concern for the fate of their race, defeatism is by far the most pernicious and widespread of all issues. Of all the obstacles that impede our progress, it occupies a unique and fortunate position in that its origin is internal as opposed to external. Why do the assuredly grim prospects on the horizon bring one person to despair while another remains unshaken? Armchair psychologists will explain this variance as the difference between pessimistic and optimistic natures. This is incorrect. As dispositional affects, beginning and ending in the self, both pessimism and optimism involve an element of delusion. In contrast, the true believer is characterized neither by optimistic thinking nor by the avoidance of its opposite. Rather, we can affirm that he transcends them both from above, while the nihilist does so from below. The word fanaticism has acquired a negative connotation in an era where anything short of ironic detachment is seen as suspicious, if not outright dangerous. According to its original meaning, a fanatic was an individual inspired by God, and inspiration itself necessarily implied the notion of man as a vehicle, combined with the sense of a compulsion to act. It is this applied devotion, in short, this faith as inspiration to action, that enables the true believer to maintain his course where others falter. Faith, of course, comes in various forms, even within a single religious doctrine. Thus, attaining a syncretic interpretation of faith as it pertains to political activity will require an attempt at comparative theology. In the Christian tradition, for instance, there are a number of passages that portray faith as indissociable from action. One of the more salient examples is found in James 2:14-26. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? A person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. When informed by faith or doctrine, the disciple's actions are a means to give form to the formless, and the element that establishes a channel between man and the divine. In political and ideological terms, convictions that do not compel one to act are meaningless. In Platonic and later Kantian philosophy, as objects of the highest knowledge, pure ideas and forms fall into the category of noumena, in contrast to phenomena which encompass all things perceptible by the senses. Following this reasoning, human actions that originate from the metaphysical plane constitute the pure idea made manifest, forming the perfect dyad of noumena-phenomena, thus unifying the realm of being with that of becoming. This is implicitly felt by all those who struggle is said to be in service of a higher truth. To the ancient Romans, however, the noumen was not simply a transcendental idea or form, but a sheer power that is capable of producing effects, of acting, and of manifesting itself. For the Romans, quoting Evola, the sense of the real presence of such powers or noumena as something simultaneously transcendent and yet immanent constituted the substance of the original experience of the sacred. Merging the Platonic and Roman interpretations, we obtain the following picture of the noumen, not of the idea as divine inspiration, but rather of divinity as both idea and action. The true believer, then, is a mediator or third power between heaven and earth. The above-mentioned view of ideologically infused action as being animated by a divine force striving to actualize itself can be reinforced further with a detour into Chinese theology. Adhering to a panentheistic conception similar to that of the ancient Romans, Confucianism identifies the universal god Tian as both nature and the pattern discernible in the unfolding of nature, as immanent transcendence, or again as both noumena and phenomena. This belief in the divine as the organizing principle of reality, as logos, invalidates the very possibility of secular human activity. Man, in acting on behalf of the ideal, mirrors the identical process of self-realization that is occurring ubiquitously in all things. This also corresponds, in Aristotelian philosophy, to the concept of entelechy or entelecheia, meaning the principle that molds all matter according to its potential or dynamis. Interestingly, medieval scholastic thought translated entelecheia into the Latin actus, a term that designated the strictly spiritual act. Thus, the human actions that have a spiritual basis, as entelechies, are concrete iterations of the logos. Considering that Aristotle identified the soul as the entelechy of the body, we can return to the passage from the book of James, according to which, as the body without the spirit or soul is dead, so faith without deeds or spiritual acts is dead, and acquire a newfound understanding. As the divine is the morphological agent that creates order from the chaos of sheer potentiality, so man is called not to be a servant of order, but order itself, self-overcoming to be reborn as pure entelechy.